I move around a little bit, I get a bit excited about this stuff. A bit closer. Oh, this could be challenging. No worries.
It is portable if you want to take it off and move it. Would that be easier?
Oh. Hey, how's that?
Oh, you can move much better.
Hands free.
Brilliant distance. Yeah.
Brilliant distance.
Up and down.
Just walk up and down the stairs. Okay, it's a bit like what the microbes in your soil will be doing. Oh, sorry, falling. It's a bit like what your microbes in your soil will be doing, is walking up and down. Okay, so I just had an indication before of people who'd heard about the soil food web, and I understand that not too many people. So, the soil food web, what is it? Basically, what we're looking at is the microbes in your soil. So, I guess a lot of people would have heard of the soil, of your gut microbiome. Yep, I'm getting quite a few nods. What's in your gut is effectively what's in the soil. So that's why partly why it's important. We're going to be talking about bacteria, fungi, protozoa and nematodes. These sort of things these little microbes are the ones that are going to be eating the nutrients in your soil and taking them in, and then they need to be eaten by something else to release those nutrients back to the plants. Why is it important? Well, because if you want to grow things organically, then this is one of the ways that you can do it, or it's certainly something that underpins everything that you do. So it's useful because,
Excuse me, Ellen.
Yes.
May I just say, can everybody hear
Oh.
Ellen? Yeah, the volume's
oh,
enough. Yeah, thank
see
you.
there's somebody at the back, I think the lady in the white hair at the back. Yep.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, so with the soil food web again, the bacteria and the fungi are basically going to be eating the sugars that the plants provide. So the sun shines on the plants make sugars, they put them out through their roots and attract the bacteria who eat them up, and so that's really good. Then the fungi are also eating nutrients, or we'll say eating, but consuming the or decaying organic matter and things and taking on board nutrients. People by the name of Lowenfels, who we've got a book up at the display, talk about, they actually refer to bacteria and fungi as being bags of fertilizer, and I think it's a really good idea to think about it that way, because they take in the nutrients but they don't release them. We then have a next series of things, the protozoa and the nematodes, that come along and they are eating the bacteria and the fungi, and they don't need as many nutrients as what they get from the bacteria and the fungi, and so it's just like us when we eat food and we don't use it all up, we pop it out. And so it's those excretions that become full of nutrients that become available to the plants. So the bacteria and the fungi are effectively the fertilizer spreaders. Make sense? We need fertilizer bags of fertilizers, but we also need spreaders to spread them out. So that's the soil food web. So why is it useful to us? Well, hopefully we're already starting to think about why it might be useful, but when these things are in the soil, they're actually building the structure of the soil. So we would have heard about earthworms that make their tunnels.
Love worms.
Love earthworms. Earthworms eat bacteria.
Yeah, right.
And so we need the bacteria and the fungi to create these structures in the soil. So they build moisture retention. And then they also cycle the nutrients, which we've talked about with the fertilizer bags and the fertilizer spreaders. They enhance resistance to pests, because when you've got all these things working well in your soil, your plants become really strong, and so they become resistant to pests and diseases. Again, that's something that we're after. And for people who are living particularly in urban areas, they also process toxins, so they're going to help actually keep our environment safe. So these sort of things are all things that we're going to, what we want, but then they're going to save us money on synthetic fertilizers, on chemicals like herbicides and pesticides and so on. And so we're going to keep more dollars in our pockets. But what really hits my heart is the fact that we're not going to be putting things into our soil that are going to leach away. 80% of the nitrogen and so on that you put into your soil through chemical-based fertilizers leaches into our waterways. And then we end up with the algal blooms in the estuaries and so on. So this is, to me, it's a win-win. Win for our pockets, win for the environment. I've got some handouts that, if you want one, please come and see either myself or Bonnie in the back here to show you these things. But I've got a little tiny one here that shows you the protozoa, fungi, bacteria and nematodes. feel free to come. We've got our microscope set up in the shed, and so please feel free to come down and have a look through, and we can show you most of these things that we've already seen this morning. So where do you get soil microbiology? Well, to start with, you should all probably have a heap sitting ready, waiting for you at your home, in your garden. It'll already be there. A lot of it will already be there. Some of it will be dormant, but generally you'll have it there just waiting to thrive, especially if you feed it and so on. So you can grow your own, and that's like through composts and making sure that you have good quality compost with a really good diversity of ingredients in it.
How did our compost?
Oh, your compost. So the samples that we're looking at when you come down and have a look at our display or through the microscopes, we're looking at the compost from your garden here, and it's looking pretty good. We've seen good bacterial feeding nematodes, and nematodes are not those nasty things that you think. Only about 5% of them are root feeding nematodes. The rest of them are good things that will be processing those nutrients and making them available. And when you've got lots of the good ones, you're not going to have any problems with the bad ones. So yes, Pauline, it's looking good.
Awesome.
It's looking good. Even the worm juice was looking good, Lynn. So yes. So yeah,
I can still keep on, can I?
you can keep on. You've got your fertilizer spreaders in there happening. So the other thing is that you can make your quality compost, you can make compost teas, you can use mulches. All of these things will be helping. You can buy commercial products. Please, please, please be wary if you're buying commercial products. And it's not because they're all bad, but more because sometimes people will be pushing that they think that they've got certain sorts of bacteria or certain sorts of fungi. We need diversity. We need the whole lot. If I just fed you really healthy beans all day long, you're not going to be healthy in the end. If I just feed you ice cream all day long, you're not going to be healthy in the end. You need diversity, and that's why we need this diversity. So be careful if you're going to do those sort of things. So now we've got your biology. How do you know if yours is okay? So first thing is, well, if you've got healthy plants, that's a good sign. If you've got healthy plants that stay healthy all year, that's really good, because that means that throughout the seasons things are cycling, they're doing the right things. So good healthy plants all year round. If when you pull the roots, the plant out, and the roots have got dreadlocks, everybody know what dreadlocks are? Those, yeah, dreadlocks, those sort of like in your hair when it hasn't, I don't know how people do it, but yes. And so they're really good. If you've got dreadlocks on your root, that means that the microbes, because the roots have exuded the sugars have attracted the microbes have built their soil and their little aggregates around the roots, and so they're going to create these dreadlocks, and that's great. So that's what you want to see.
Excellent.
So I'm still working towards that. We're getting a few aggregates on ours at home now, but we've still got a way to go. And then the last thing is that you can view your soil through using a microscope. So I believe through the Mandurah Community Garden, they're very eager to get workshops happening. So we'll provide workshops to train people how to use the microscopes and bring microscopes out so that you can look at your soils. The other thing is that, as a shameless plug for Earthwhile Australia, we do home consultations where we'll come out and look at your soil for you and spend a couple of hours and bring our microscopes, and you can see through that way. How do you look after your soil microbiology? Well, it's just like in everything else. You need to give it some shelter, so make sure it's covered, it's not out in the broad sunlight. Things like mulch are good. Even better is green cover crops. So making sure you've got something green in your soil all the time, and making sure you've got a diversity. So if you've got something that the research has shown that when you have something like 8 different species of plants, varieties of plants together, it's like flicks on the switch to make everything work well. So there's good variety rather than growing lots of the same thing in the one place. Limit your digging. Well, it's just like us. If you came through and sliced and diced us, we wouldn't be too happy. Same thing with the microbes. That doesn't mean that you can't do it. It just means be wary. Be aware that that's what can happen, is you can upset them. And having said that though, we also need to aerate our soil, because when you don't have oxygen, we can't breathe, we don't do too well. And as much as there's many microbes that work in without oxygen, they tend not to be as healthy for our plants. They tend not to be as good for our soil as the ones that need the oxygen. So keep your plants oxygenated. And then what else have we got? Avoiding synthetic fertilizers. Because, any ideas why we avoid synthetic fertilizers? Well, because the synthetic fertilizers are basically based on salt. What happens when you put salt on things? It kills it because it tends to dry things out. And so it dries out the microbes. It dries out those coatings that they have around their bodies. And so, yeah, so that's what.
So what's an example of a synthetic?
Virtually like your NPK, your Thrive, your things like that. No, don't worry too much because I'll tell you something nice in a minute. So.
Also, because maybe microorganisms in the soil are alive,
Yes.
and they need more natural food than just chemically produced.
Yes,
Powders?
when they have just
Like us?
yeah, when they have their synthetic foods, they actually don't. They think, I don't have to bother working. I don't actually have to create these sugars that say to the microbes, go out and get these things. So that's another reason. And certainly, I mean, this one just makes so much sense. I feel silly even saying it. Avoid pesticides. Avoid fungicides. Avoid insecticides. Again, why? Well, and herbicides. Simply because, what do? Kill, exactly, they kill the microbes, but they don't even kill the good ones, they kill the bad ones, they kill the good ones as well. And when we remember that we've got a lot less bad ones than we have good ones, why would we want to do that? So,
Can I ask a question? Sorry.
Yeah.
So what's the best thing to fertilise your lawn with then?
well, maybe we can get to that at the end if that's okay. And we're not horticulturalists, so I should point that out. But we're very passionate about what we do. And the good news for those people who, if you do need to use a herbicide, if you do need to use one of these other things, because you're now aware that you're actually going to be killing off or certainly paralysing a lot of the organisms in your soil, you actually then know that you need to rebuild it. So make sure that you feed them well. Make sure that you cover them up. Make sure that if you need to, inoculate with extra ones. So don't panic. Sometimes we have to be practical. Sometimes we need to do things that may not be the best, but we can fix it up. Oh, good. I hope you're smiling now. And that just brings us to come and visit our display throughout the day. If we'd love to see you. We'd love to have you look through the microscope. I'd love to see oh, look what I found. There's a busy nematode or something else happening. And we'd love to see you. So thank you very much. I don't know if we've got time for questions or who's up next or what's happening.
Where's our MC? MC!
Oh,
We're good?
we've got plenty of time? Oh, apparently we've got plenty of time. So, yeah, we've got some. So the question was, you were asking.
What's the healthy thing to fertilise the lawn with?
Okay, well, I can't tell you what's the healthiest and whatever to fertilise your lawn with, but keeping natural. So again, you're looking for things that are going to be. Your lawn is basically going to have it needs a mix of bacterial and dominant and fungi, but it's going to probably need more bacterial, so not so much fungi. So things like your sea salt, your those sort of things that compost teas will be fine. A fine dressing of quality compost, that will all be good.
Can I just say something there?
Yeah.
Your pH, if you want a good lawn, check your pH in your lawn. Usually around about 6 is a good soil for lawn. So you have to, like here, most